I promise to be with you forever. You're so important to me.
I swear I'll give my life to you.
Please, let me love you.
I'll be by your side, always.
I can't imagine living without you.
I want to be with you.
I love you.
I slowly opened my eyes, letting the voices of my dream echo in my head, force me awake. I rubbed my eyes before sitting up and looking at my clock. 7 a.m. Why am I up so early? I fell back onto the bed and closed my eyes, trying to get back to sleep. However, something kept me awake. Why? It's too early to even be alive. I gave up and sat up, staring at the fireplace across from my bed. A sigh escaped from between my lips before I threw my legs over the side of the bed. What to do at 7 a.m. in the morning? Make some coffee. I decided making coffee was the best bet in surviving the rest of the day. Why not? I haven't had coffee in forever. I got out of bed and made my way to the kitchen, unconcerned that I was in my pajama pants and a tank top. I rummaged through the cabinets for a coffee machine, making any makings for coffee. Suddenly, surely my grandfather had some. A French press? Well, it's better than nothing. I began to make my coffee. I checked my email and texts on my phone. No new important emails, no text messages. I sighed. I quickly made my coffee just how I liked it and sat on the counter. But then I began to wonder. Would this happen every day? I let the questions linger in my mind for a whole morning. I did not think once about the boys or Malix. Everything was peaceful. Everything was average. Nothing magical, or dangerous, or unusual. I simply drank my coffee as I let the thought marinate in the back of my mind. I returned to bed, feeling the weight of the morning drag me under my covers to try sleeping again. I had energy, but I wanted more sleep. It was Sunday, and nothing was happening today. Come on, eyes. Back to sleep. I shut my eyes and tried to slow my breathing. I looked at my phone to check the time once again. It was noon, yet it felt like I had slept for much longer. Why is time going so slowly? I sighed, got changed into normal clothes, and went out to the main hall and sat on the stairs. Sundays were very boring. However, the muffled sounds of battle caught my attention. I quickly went out to the backyard in response to the noise I heard. In the yard were all 5 of the boys practicing fighting. Sam was in the middle with the other 4 surrounding him and throwing punches and kicks at him. Sam, being the strongest of the bunch, blocked and dodged each almost masterfully. Don't disturb them. I just watched. The boys were very much in their own world, focusing on the training they were all in. It was better not to disturb them. I checked the time and decided to head inside to the kitchen. I was getting hungry, and I'm sure the boys would need to eat soon, so lunch was a must. Might as well make lunch today. It's been a while since I cooked. Lunch wasn't particularly hard. I decided to make cold cut sandwiches. Goes chicken and rice. Gotta keep their energy and strength up with protein. I took my time to make almost perfect chicken breasts alongside some rice. Cooking wasn't hard unless you didn't know what you were doing in the first place. This is true. I placed the food in the dining room. However, none of the boys were there by the time I brought the final dish out. I carried the dish to the main lobby, catching the boys separating into different rooms of the house. Part of me wanted to go to one in particular. The other part of me just wanted to leave them and take the food in my hand to my room and eat. Maybe I go out today while the boys focus on training. I decided against bothering them. They knew where the food was, so I went to my room instead and ate alone in my room. It's not my problem. I turned on my computer and started to jam to music as I ate my food. As I began to think about going out. There were so many places to go, things to do. was Sunday, and felt the need to see my grandfather. It had been 3 days since he had been buried, and the cemetery was only a short walk away. I decided to see him. I took my time eating and headed out to the street to walk towards the cemetery. It was a good half-hour walk, but it'd be a nice stroll. A flower shop was on the way, so I could pick up flowers for his grave. I still felt the sting of grief run through my bones, but I knew that it would eventually fade over time. I paused my journey to the cemetery to enter the flower shop, quickly picking a bouquet from the back display case and paying. "The bouquet of lilies, please." "Thank you." With flowers in hand, I made my way to the large steel gate of St. Joseph's Cemetery. I entered and felt the cold shiver of death running through the air against my skin. Would it always be like this? The cemetery was a final resting place. It wasn't just for mourning or sadness. It was supposed to also be a place for remembrance. I sighed as I walked through the cemetery towards my grandfather's grave. Yeah, I wish it was the father's grave. Anyways, before I could reach it, though, I noticed a figure standing by the slab. Huh? Who's that? I stopped walking and tried to focus my sight, see who was standing at my grandfather's grave before I approached. I didn't want to interrupt a prayer or anything, but even more, I wanted to know who exactly was there. My mind barely considered the idea that it was my father, but it couldn't have been him. Familiar brown hair crowned this person's head instead of black and gray. The black and gray my father had. He was vaguely familiar. Andrew? It was indeed Andrew. He was dressed in casual clothes, but he was giving his respects to my grandfather. I was curious as to why. I quietly stepped closer and approached Andrew in the grave, being careful not to scare Andrew. At my footsteps, Andrew turned to see me and realized it was me, turned fully to me.
"Oh, Miss Anderson. I'm sorry. I'll just..."
Andrew quickly shook his head and took a step to leave. I stopped him with a hand and smiled. He was merely paying his respect. There was no need for me to intrude. Andrew stared at me before smiling and nodding, returning to his place in front of the grave. He took a side step to make room for me, so I stepped next to him. I looked to the grave, running my gaze through the engraving on the stone slab before gently laying my bouquet down on it. However, I didn't stand back up. I gently sat down on the grass in front of the grave and stared at it.
"Lilies?"
Common flowers for gravestones, yeah? My grandfather didn't have a favorite flower. I heard and felt Andrew gently crouch down and sit beside me. I turned my head to look at him, catching him nodding in acknowledgement to my statement. I turned back to the grave, letting out a small sigh. "So, can I ask why you came here?"
"I came to pay my respects. He was someone I really idolized."
I turned my head to him again, confused. Idolized?
Mm-hmm. He inspired me to work hard and make people happy. When I interned for his company, he was the first person to greet me at the doors with open arms, even before my father.
I almost couldn't believe what I was hearing. However, the look in Andrew's eyes made my heart break. He truly idolized my grandfather, like he was his own grandfather.
Your grandfather was an amazing man, but I'm sure I don't have to tell you that. He treated me better than my dad ever could. All my dad cares about is me becoming the CEO. But Harold Anderson? No.
I could practically feel my lips moving in sync with Andrew's as he continued to speak, almost hearing my grandfather speak alongside him in the air.
He said, "Don't worry about it so much. You have plenty of time to decide. Besides, you should do what makes you happy instead."
He said that to me too. Andrew turned to me in surprise before smiling.
Really? He cared a lot about you. There were days that he wouldn't stop talking about you and compared you to me.
I felt a blush run across my face. What things did he say?
Well, he told me how cute you were and how you loved to make people happy. He also said you always had the perfect ideas for his toys.
I felt a smile grow on my face, remembering the small moment when I had helped him design his now most popular toy, the glowing heart bear. I didn't realize how proud of me he was because I was so small. Now that I was older, I was able to understand. He always had me help him, even when I didn't feel like I could. He was the greatest person ever in my life. He treated me better than my dad.
How does your dad treat you?
He's pretty harsh to me. He wants me to be the CEO of the company as well, since it's technically a family business.
Ah, he's strict, like my dad. Well, if it ever came to a time where the board had to decide a CEO, I'd gladly give it up for you.
I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. Didn't he want the position? Why? Don't you want to be CEO? CEO? To my surprise, Andrew shook his head with a goofy smile.
I don't. My dad wants me to take over the Anderson company, but I really am not sure if I want to or not. Sure, making toys is great and helping people is something I want to do, but I don't know if I want to head the company.
You're not sure what you want to do. Just like me.
You don't want to be a CEO either?
I shook my head. Andrew let out a small laugh.
Man, we must be the worst kids on the planet. Our dads want us to take over a company, but we don't even want to. Imagine what would happen if they actually liked each other.
I couldn't help but laugh with him. We were in the same boat, yet we were on opposing sides. It's like Romeo versus Juliet. Two families competing for one goal, but the competitors didn't want to even try to reach that goal. Andrew gently stopped laughing and smiled at me.
Your grandfather was right about one thing, though. You are really cute.
The blush that had faded from my face suddenly returned at his words. I looked away from him, making him laugh again.
Sorry, it's true. Cross my heart.
Thanks. Liar! He was flattering me. I had to admit, he was cute too. But I had only known him for a short while. It wasn't realistic to like him more than that. Andrew cleared his throat and sat up straight, rubbing the back of his neck.
I'll let you have some time with your grandfather. I don't have anywhere to be, so I'll wait by the gates and give you a ride home when you're done.
You can go home. I'll be okay. Andrew nodded and bid me farewell before leaving the cemetery past the gates. I sighed and looked to the grave. I bet you're laughing at me. I practically glared at the grave, but after a brief second, I smiled. He's a sweet guy and he's a big fan of yours. Who wouldn't be? You cared for everyone, no matter who they were. I gently ran a finger over one of the lilies in the bouquet. It was soft to touch. My mind was filled with Andrew for some reason. Was this grandfather's plan? Did he hope for me to meet Andrew as a kindred spirit? Well, I don't like Andrew, so don't get your hopes up. I wouldn't be surprised. I chuckled softly before standing. I'll be fine, Grandpa. Andrew's a good guy, but who knows? I shrugged before letting out a sigh and turned back to the cemetery gate. I took a glance back to the grave before walking out and heading home. I went to my room and remained there until dinner. You're lucky something didn't happen. The remainder of the night passed by, surprisingly uneventful. The boys continued to train with each other, but were kind enough to stop and make me dinner. I was glad for that. Unsurprisingly, the food was perfect. It felt like a little empty without the boys to eat with me. They most likely had already eaten, but still, I felt lonely. I couldn't let it bother me. I ate and back to my room to study and sleep. Surprisingly, I felt good going to bed that night. I felt like I could have a peaceful sleep after the previous rough nights I had. I felt good. I drifted to sleep and woke up almost flawlessly the next morning. No grogginess, no aches. Perfectly energized and bright-eyed. Man, how long has it been since I got that much good sleep? I looked to my alarm clock. I woke up 10 minutes before my alarm. Well, hey, I must be lucky today. Karma owed me some good luck. After all I had gone through in merely a handful of days, I deserved to get some good luck. Ecstatic for the day ahead, I turned off my alarms before they could ring and got dressed. However, my phone started to quickly buzz from an incoming text. Huh? Who's texting me this early?
Yo, Anderson! You're carpooling with us from now on. We're not letting you waste your money on a bus. Get ready and be at your gate at 7 stat.
I smiled. My friends were the best. I couldn't drive yet, and I didn't have a car, so it's awesome that my friends would let me carpool. I checked the time, 6:30. Perfect. I can eat some breakfast before they come. I packed my bag and carried it downstairs to the kitchen. I quickly made myself coffee and toast, not having time for anything big. I let out a soft sigh in happiness as I sipped my coffee. I felt great. I felt like nothing could stop me today. Come at me, Day. I'm ready for you. I looked to the time again. Time to go. I quickly rushed to the door, checking myself in the passing mirror. I wasn't wanting to impress anyone, but I still needed to look decent. And right on cue, Naomi drove up to the gates with Suzu waving me down. I rushed to the door, and we headed to school, talking about the homework and the coming day. We made it to school without a hitch. Our lockers were in the same part of the hall, so we quickly unloaded what we needed and got our important books and necessities. First incident of the day. As I walked towards Suzu and Naomi, who were both waiting for me on the opposite side of the hall, something hooked my ankle and made me fall forward. Whoa! Ow.
Hey, are you okay?
Who did that?
The three of us looked back to see Lisette and her gaggle of girls. Lisette had a look of complete innocence, while the girls around her giggled like no tomorrow.
Why, you little...
Suzu, don't!
I felt a giant fire of anger burn in my stomach as I stared at Lisette. Today was not the only time this had happened to me. However, it was clear who was behind these incidents. Even if she was innocent and one of her goons did it, it was now obvious that Lisette was the mastermind just from the look on her face. You're still so fucking pathetic looking. Your face looks like it belongs under a lawnmower. She was no friend, nor would she ever be. I had to do something. Stand up and walk away. No. I wasn't going to bring myself to her level. She was a bully, but I was not going to let her get to me. I had to be stronger than her, and only then would I have beaten her. Basically, why give her more ammunition? I stood up and brushed myself off, pretending nothing had happened.
Anderson,
That was a pretty bad fall.
Yeah, I'm fine. Fall like that is nothing. I merely smiled at them, not wanting to let them know the pain rushing through my body from that fall. My arms were quaking. My shoulders were pulsing. But I remained content-faced. I quickly gathered up my belongings and nodded to my two friends. Come on, we're late for history. Suzu and Naomi looked at each other before frowning and nodding to me. Naomi and Suzu flanked me as we began to walk to class away from the gaggle of bullies. As we walked, I could barely see Suzu flipping the middle finger to the group behind us from the corner of my eye.
friggin' bunch of Lisette feet lickers.
That's gross, Suzu.
Well, she's right.
It's true. It's all OMG! Lisette is the best! Let's follow her around because we obviously don't have lives.
Right again. Naomi and I could not help but laugh. The group behind us, however, did not like Suzu's words.
At least my dad doesn't screw around in the black market to keep a stupid casino running.
Suzu stopped. Naomi and I stopped as well to look back at Suzu, who was completely red in anger. Suzu now slowly turned ahead to the group, glaring daggers at them.
The fuck did you just say?
I had to act fast. I placed my hands on Suzu's shoulder and gripped tightly, knowing she would try to push my hand away. Suzu, they're not worth it. Let's just go.
No, I think it's about time we taught them some manners.
Suzu!
I looked at Lisette and her group. Lisette had a widely amused smile on her face, which irked me to no end. Nevertheless, I knew that fighting wasn't going to get us anywhere. Let's go. I grabbed Suzu by the shoulders roughly, pulling her back to Naomi and me. Suzu tried to step towards the group, but Naomi held on to the other shoulder. We held on to Suzu, who fought against our hands as we marched to class. Surprisingly, the rest of the school day went off without another incident. I went to my classes, had lunch, and was anxious to get home. As the bell rang for school to end, I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. A text? From Dad? I'll be picking you up today. Make sure you're ready to go when I get there. That's kind of a surprise. I quickly headed back to my locker to get my things before waiting for Naomi and Suzu.
Hey, are you ready to go?
Actually, my dad's picking me up.
Really? Okay, I guess that kind of makes sense.
We'll drive home together next time. Tell your dad that we've got you covered from now on.
Yeah, alright. Even while I laughed, something didn't seem right. My dad texted me to say this. Why was he coming to pick me up? Had I done something wrong? I didn't know. I waved goodbye to Naomi and Suzu before heading off to the usual spot where my dad picks me up. I took time to listen to my music while I waited. I need to go to another Rise of the Phoenix concert. Eventually, I'd played the entire album with no one showing up. What the? Hey! Dad's never late. Especially not this late. I quickly dialed my dad's number again, but as soon as I pressed call, it disconnected and read a signal disconnection error message. Oh. So there was a signal disconnection error. What? No signal error. How do I not have a signal? I double-checked my phone and saw all 5 bars for a signal. He must be in a dead